What's up, y'all? It's your girl J Renee with Prison Riot Radio. I hope that you're doing well. This afternoon, we got a brother on the phone that goes by Akerele, and he a jack of a few trades. So we're gonna get to know him and see what he got going on. What's up, bro? How you doing?
Yeah, I'm all right, man. How you feeling? Doing good.
Okay, that's good. So tell the people a little bit about yourself and where you from.
I was born in Chicago, and I grew up between Chicago and Port Royal, Jamaica. So, I kind of been back and forth my entire life, but I grew up mostly on the south side of Chicago in the suburbs. And, that's kind of where I was, my stomping grounds before I, became incarcerated for what I'm incarcerated for now.
Okay, for sure. So I know you've been up to some things since your incarceration. I know that you're a writer and you make music and stuff. So let's talk about the music. How long have you been doing that?
So I've been doing music, basically my whole life.
Okay.
But since I've been incarcerated, I kind of wanted to tap into other things, because just being an artist, I just don't want to just be labeled as an artist. I wanted to kind of spread my wings and tap into things like writing film, writing novels. I've published a couple books along the way. I've gotten into writing films, and I've also started a clothing line too. So I didn't want to spread myself thin. So I kind of just wanted to tap into another part of my brain and just kind of stretch myself. And so I started to further that creative process.
Okay, we can definitely dig that. Congratulations on the publishing of your books. Tell us the name of them. Where can
Appreciate it.
you welcome?
Well, one book I published is called That's the Way Love Goes, and the second book that I published is called Simon's Closet. I had them up on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, and all the the publishing outlets. I just recently took them down because I'm in the process of revising them. So in the next 2 weeks, they're going to be back up, so they'll be available on Barnes and Nobles, Amazon, and all the other publishing outlets around the world. So look out for that. But as of now, I have a clothing line that that's in development. It also could be looked at on CosmicStore.com. So if anybody wanted to search it, they'll type in www.cosmicstore.com. But the way I'm spelling cosmic is COSMICK. So that's in further development. So I'm just kind of grinding. Even though I'm in prison. I don't want I don't want the adversity to stop me in my tracks. I kind of ground that, and I just focus on exploring my conscious to trigger subconscious results. And that just allows me to tap into the right hemisphere of my brain, which is basically my imagination. So I'm working.
You dig it. You definitely working, bro. Spell that website for people again so they can make sure they got it right.
It's www.cosmick store.com. So it's www.cosmicstore.com. And if you want to follow me, in my brand, they can also follow me on Cosmic World. So Cosmic World is the Instagram, and it's also the Facebook. So remember, the way I'm spelling Cosmic is COSMICK. And just to let you guys know, just a gist of Cosmic. Like Cosmic is a fantasy novel that I kind of wrote at first, and I just came up with the idea that it'd be dope for a clothing line. So I started drawing these characters that kind of looked at dope, and I just kind of started playing with it and making prototypes, and people started liking it. So it's basically like an audience that kind of forced me to put that out there, and that's what I'm doing. So God willing, it's going to grow into something big because it's a good brand, and we'll see.
Okay. We're definitely gonna make sure that we set the links up so they'll be able to click on them. So congratulations.
For sure.
You know what I mean? A lot of people aren't doing that. So the fact that you're doing that and are incarcerated says a lot about your determination and your drive. So salute to you on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
I appreciate it, man. 'Cause
Yeah.
I appreciate that because every morning I get up with the notion that I have to define and practice my purpose in life. I just feel like that's my calling to bring satisfaction and meaning. I just want to be useful to the world. So it's essential that I continue to stay positive in my character, and everyone blossoms in their own ways and in their own time. So so with me, I just stay focused on the process of continuous improvement on all levels. And I thank the Most High, I thank the universe for allowing me to have the mind frame that which I can create, because it's just hard in the situation that I'm in, because it's not hard to fall victim and just become the product of the environment in which you're confined. So, and I'm not going to let that stop me in what I'm doing. So I just focus on, like I said, stretching myself in the context of clarity.
So we can dig that, bro. So let's get into these
For
movies.
sure.
How many scripts have you written to date, and what made you want to get into writing movies?
Wow. Well, I'm gonna start from this. Like I said, I've been, kind of been doing music for a long time. And I would say the year of 2011, I read this book by Tupac Shakur. It was called The Resurrection, right? So when I was reading that, I don't know, I always messed with Pac, you know what I'm saying? That was my era or whatever. But as I was reading the Tupac Resurrection book, I didn't know that, he actually like wrote film himself. So I was reading his scripts and I'm like, man, like I said, I didn't want to just stick myself in a box. Like all I want to do is just write music. I want to write music. I want to be entrepreneur. I want to write film. So I saw what he did, and I'm like, man, I could do something like this too. So that's how I really like got the motivation to write film. So to date, I would say I have penned about 40 manuscripts. So going back to 2011, in my mind, like this is when I was in the county jail. So in my mind, I was gonna beat my case. And when I got out, I wanted to, shoot my films low budget. I wanted to be this indie film director. 'Cause that's all I was writing was film. So I ended up getting convicted. So I'm like, man, how would I showcase my work to the world? So what I did was I just started rewriting my manuscripts, my films into novels. So that's when I published my first novel, That's the Way Love Goes. And then my second novel I published with Simon's Closet. And like I said, just as a reminder, I had to take the books down because I'm in the process of revising it. And Simon's Closet actually is supposed to be going live in about 2 weeks. So you guys will see that. And then I'm gonna put That's the Way Love Goes back up. And of course, after that is going to be the fantasy novel that I have called Cosmic. And this is in reference to the clothing line that I have.
That's awesome, bro. You do know that you still can make movies even though you're incarcerated, right?
Yeah, absolutely, and that's what I'm working on. And I think we've talked about that. We had sent some of my work to the brother Dutch. He gave me some wonderful feedback, and hopefully we can be in further discussion about that film that I wrote called Crab It. I know I sent you guys the synopsis of it. It was based out of Jamaica, where I practically grew up. Like locations like Port Royal and Kingston and stuff like that. And that's one of the first ones. If I do get a chance to, have something to bring that into perspective while I'm incarcerated, that film right there will be one of the first ones I would like to throw out there. That'd actually be dope.
Yeah, for sure. It's always a trip to see your words turn into a vision, something you can see. You know what I mean? So definitely, I think that's something that you're gonna be doing, bro. Absolutely. Um, so let me.
I appreciate that.
Oh yeah, for sure, absolutely. So, what's going on like new? What is up and coming? Is there anything else that we should know about?
Right. Well, right now, like me and my team were, like I said, Cosmic is kind of like demanding attention right now. I kind of, I put it up. We launched the online store. And word of mouth. People are buying, and we haven't even, put it out there, in full, started the full marketing and promotion process, and we're already making sales. And just to let you know too, I have a close friend of mine. He did me a favor, and he invited me to put my brand inside of his store. So he has a clothing store called Damn. It's located in Flossmoor, Illinois, 3321 Valmer Road, Flossmoor, Illinois. The store is called Damn, which stands for Definition and Meaning. And he invited me to put Cosmic in the store, which I think is going to be a big thing because he's doing big things with his clothing line. He has a great clothing line, high quality end clothes, and like I say, and this is what is demanding my attention right now. Even though I want to, I've been recording a few songs, through the phone. I've been in the studio, and I will be sending you some music too. But at the end of the day, I can't front and say that like Cosmic is not demanding attention right now. Like the audience is like they want this, So just don't forget to follow me on Cosmic World. That's the Facebook and the Instagram. I told you guys about CosmicStore.com, and we'll see. But this is a whole package, So we'll see. Whatever God chooses to be the thing right now, that's gonna be it. So that's just how I feel.
So we could dig that. You definitely
Yeah,
send much success your way. You know what I mean? You definitely
I
got
appreciate that.
going, but it looked like you doing the thing. So that's what's up. You feel me? Um,
Yeah, I'm trying though. Even in the face of adversity, I still, everybody still, has their struggles. Because don't forget, like, I am still behind bars. In my wrongful conviction. That's a whole another thing. But I got to keep pushing, man. I just can't let my situation stop my life. So I'm never gonna lose sight of any strong idea without doing something to execute it. And that's just how I feel. And even if I was incarcerated or out there, money and success demand attention. And if you ignore either, you will have nothing. And I got to keep grinding, and that's just me.